This is part 29 of the Digital DJ Tips Learn to DJ free email course. The course comes in 50 weekly parts and you can sign up to get every part, which includes a module, some further reading on the Digital DJ Tips website, community features, quotes from big DJs, there's all kinds of stuff and it's all free. So please go and sign up to get everything, not just the videos. It's at digitaldjtips.com/join. So this week we're talking about how to craft a unique DJ sound, how to craft a sound that really says you, a sound that means that you stand out and that you can begin to get recognized for what you do best and something that's personal. This is easy to talk about, but it's something that you will have to think a little bit about, and you have to dig a bit deeper than just turning up and playing a few tunes if you're going to start doing this, but it's well worth doing. Think of it as the same as saving a few pennies every week. You know, soon you're going to have pounds, and it's the same with your music. Pick the music wisely and add a little bit at a time. Think it through every time you do that, and in the end you're going to end up with a really decent pile of tunes that say you. And not only the music, but the mixing that goes with them, but we'll get onto that in a second. So the first thing actually while we're talking about mixing is to say that mixing is not as important as music. We keep saying that mixing is not as important as music, but it's really true. People are going to go away at the end of the night and they're going to say the music was great tonight. Very few people are going to go away and say the mixing was great tonight. Now they might do, but that will suppose that the music was already really good as well. You don't get the music right, people aren't going to go away saying how great your mixing was. They're going to go away saying that guy was rubbish, he was boring, I didn't have a very good night. Get your music right. And the great thing about getting your music right is that in order to do that, you need to think very hard about it. You're going to end up adding records to your collection a little bit slower and in a little bit of a more measured way than people who just pile all the tunes in and play anything. And because of that, because you're thinking about each tune that you add, and because you're loving your music and getting to know your music better than people who don't really care as much as I'm saying you should, you're going to mix better anyway. You'll know the tunes better, you'll be used to mixing them. You don't want to be scared about playing the same tunes, because once you've chosen them and you believe in them, well, that's what you do, that's your music, they're your tunes. So the fact that you have less means you're going to mix better anyway. So let's get on to how to craft a unique DJ sound. Well, one of my big tips is forget the genres that are really important right now, today, 2012 as I'm talking, and instead think about the sounds and the moods. So for instance, with me, my music tends to be slower and it tends to be softer. I've always been into atmospherics and, you know, slower beats and smoothness. I've not really been into big jarring changes or very loud, very noisy records. Now that, I can trace that back to way before I was a DJ. Back when I used to buy artist albums as a teenager, I always liked the slower tracks, the ones with the synths in, the ones with the atmospherics. So, you know, I've got a thread that goes all the way back to before I was a DJ. Now that's part of what I like, it's part of my sound. And that's something that I've carried with me and that's informed the kind of records that I go for. So for instance, if you are, say you're a house DJ, you need to look for the house records that reflect your kind of style. What kind of house do you like? Energetic, more kind of chuggy, more buildy? Do you like records with atmospherics, with spaces, with a lot of lyrics, with no lyrics, with a certain kind of lyric? For instance, I love echoey lyrics. I love little snatches of music that echo and they've got a lot of reverb on them. They've always just given me goosebumps, you know, they've given me pimples and I love it. So I'm always going to go for records like that. Now the good thing about that is if you can identify a list of things you like, so back to what I like strings, I like atmospherics, I like echoey vocals, I love bongos, I like whistling, I love records with whistling in, I love glockenspiels and things that are hit, metal and wood being hit by something. So anything that's got that kind of Caribbean feel, or again, it's in my sound. I love a Latin-y feel to my music, I love Latin guitars. So there's a whole load of things I've just named. Now these things can appear in house music, they can appear in fact they can appear in all kinds of music, pop, rock, Latin, they can appear in reggae and in soul and in funk and in R&B. I can pick out elements of all those genres that suit my style, and every now and then a tune will appear and it will be knockout for me, and it doesn't matter what style it's in because it ticks a load of those boxes that I really personally like. Now if you collect tunes like that that cross the different genres, and you look out for them and you're patient in looking out for those tunes, you're going to end up with a record collection that's solid gold, but it's solid gold for you and not for anyone else. And going back to what I said earlier, if you then learn to mix these records, you're suddenly creating a style that really is your own. So cross genres, and don't be scared to pick out things from other genres, and that gives you a DJing style that means you can drop an R&B record in a dubstep set, or you can drop a Latin rock record into a house set, and people will get it because everything pulls together. And do you know what? Most people aren't listening as closely as you think they are. Most people aren't saying, yeah, he's playing predominantly a house set with some techno influences tonight. They're just having a good night out and listening to the music. And they'll go home and say, oh yeah, he played really well. Andy played, I don't know, some rock record they like, or Andy played a bit of Beyonce. I've not heard someone do that in that kind of club before, or whatever. You get what I'm saying. So the final part of picking your own sound and picking your own style, now that we've decided that you're looking for stuff which is in your certain, it sounds like what you like, is to make sure the actual tunes that you go for and the actual tunes you add to your collection are special in some way. So in order to do that, you need to cast a wide net. You need to look for old music as well as new music. Don't be scared to go back years. You can find a tune. The clubs I went to in the early 90s, which were in Manchester in England, and were playing a whole selection of music. They were playing rock and psychedelia from the 60s, all the way through glam 70s, all the way into punk and new wave, and then early house and hip hop. Now that's a wide selection of tunes, but these guys knew what they were doing, and these guys were picking music from the 60s and the 70s that none of us knew, that no one had heard before, stuff that hadn't been hits. Now that music sounded new to us, and you can do that too. You can go back and find stuff that your scene doesn't know, and then it doesn't matter how old it is. You pick carefully by the rules that we've discussed. It's going to sound like your own. Now there's a whole world of music out there, and especially with the new services like Spotify, where you can listen to it all for free all the way through and really get into it and start shortlisting and playlisting. You've got a real opportunity to discover stuff that you can then make current in your DJ sets, and I think that's awesome. So look for old stuff as well as new stuff. Look for remixes and mashups and rare stuff that is in your style but recognisable. Here's another really good trick. So you find a pop record that isn't in your style at all, but there's something catchy about it and people love it at the moment. Go and listen to either the records it sampled, a lot of pop music samples stuff, so go and find the stuff that it originally sampled, see if you like that, see if you can add that to your set. It gives you something which is recognisable but which is different and new. Look for pop music that has had decent remixes done in your style. Obviously every pop tune now has 6 or 7 remixes done by people in all kinds of styles. Now if you're currently into a certain style of music, then you can find a remix in that style. You've suddenly got something the crowd recognise and that is in your style. So again, an easy way of finding something that suits the way you DJ but that is current. And also look for mashups. Mashups are an easy way of getting stuff that people don't recognise, or stuff where the music's in your style but the lyric is something they recognise, or vice versa, into your set. So there's just a few ideas on how to create your own musical style. Remember, less is more. Don't add 50 new tunes to your collection every single week and expect to craft a style of your own. Add the tunes carefully. Don't be scared to throw tunes away that aren't working for you, because we all need to test music out on a live audience, and you might think, you know what, I don't really like that. Don't labour on, don't flog a dead horse. If a tune's not working, throw it out of your collection. Keep your collection lean and clean, full of stuff that really matters to you. And you've got to love every tune in your record collection. You've got to be able to press shuffle on your iPhone with your collection in it and be walking down the street and really enjoying every record. At the point where you start getting bored of them, stick them in an archive, or even better, just get them out. Leaves more room for you to add more stuff and to find more stuff that's exciting. It keeps you hungry. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. I look forward to seeing you in the next instalment. Thank you for watching.